those that are here in body and those that are here online as well. We're going to go ahead and get started with hymn 375, My Jesus, I Love Thee. Tongues. And I was told this might be one we're not super familiar with. I don't know. Sister Lauren, is that? Okay, I'll try it.
Good evening. We want to welcome everyone to this Young People's service, Young People's Wednesday evening of July. Welcome to everyone that's here, and welcome to the internet audience as well that's listening. Tonight's service doesn't really have a theme. It's going to be a testimony service. As I was thinking of this service and what to do for it, how to prepare for it, I thought I would really like to hear from people's hearts. I would really like to hear testimonies from individuals. For some of the older saints, some of us younger ones may have not heard your personal testimony of salvation. And whenever we give prayer requests, testimonies, thanksgivings aren't always given, sometimes maybe because we don't have time. And I was thinking of that more. Sister Shelley gave her thanksgiving for nearly being in an accident. I think it was on Sunday or a week or so ago. So the service this evening is going to be a testimony service. We're going to have a song first, and we'll do prayer and offering. But whenever we have the testimonies, if you all wouldn't mind, if you are able to come forward and say your testimony up front. The testimonies don't have to be of your salvation. Your testimony can be lots of different things. I have a couple things written down. You could give testimonies on witnessing. Recently in Sunday school, Brother Tom decided that at the beginning of our Sunday school time, we would take a couple minutes and set aside and give people opportunities to share their experiences over the week, mainly toward witnessing, but other things as well. And these testimonies of witnessing can be successes that you've had, maybe seeing someone actually respond to your witnessing. It could be a witnessing endeavor that you're still working on and you'd like prayer for. There's also testimonies of victories over trials, and I was also thinking of not necessarily just trials, but sometimes we find a snare that Satan planted in our way, and Jesus helped us see it at the last second. It was something we almost fell for, and we came out victorious. Things like that are encouraging to share to the saints. They can also be blessings, big blessings or small blessings. There were several days where I was working about fall of last year. There was one day that I knew was going to be a difficult day, and I got to work and saw the sunset, or the sunrise, coming up, and it was red and beautiful that morning. Just little blessings like that are encouraging. And if you have things like that to share, it'd be encouraging for us all to hear them. As Sister Shelley's testimony was, testimonies of protection. Many people won't know everything that happens in your personal life, and instances of protection are a blessing from God, because there are a lot of dangers in just living. And it would be encouraging also to hear instances of protection from the Lord. And then it could be your personal testimony of salvation. Even if you've given it before, some may have not heard, and even if we have, it's encouraging to hear it again. I've heard Brother Greg's testimony of when he got saved. I wasn't there when it happened, but I've heard it multiple times, and I still enjoy hearing it. There's other people's testimonies I may not have heard, and I'd like to hear them this evening. So, before we get started in the service, we'll go ahead and have ushers come forward, please, and we'll take up the evening offering. Dear Lord, we thank you for blessing and being in the service this evening. We thank you for being and bringing everyone safely here. Lord, we ask that you'll bless this offering, that you'll be in the rest of this service. In Jesus' name we ask, amen. While they're taking the offering plates around, I wrote a couple things down as I thought about sharing our experiences, because I know, as in with praying out, standing up in front of everyone and giving a testimony, something that you have not written down, it's coming from your heart, can be intimidating. But there's a couple things that sharing an experience like that does. It reminds us of what God has done for us. Because when something happens to us, we may give God praise in the moment, but it's like counting your blessings. Whenever you get up and give a testimony, you're recounting what God has done for you. And it also encourages others. Tom also shared in Sunday school, I think 2 weeks ago, something that he really struggled with. And I told him after service, thank you for sharing that, because it was the exact same thing that I struggled with. And it was encouraging to hear someone else struggles with that same thing. We always say that every temptation is common to man, but hearing that other people struggle with the same thing is encouraging. And it gives God glory and praise. And that's what we're here for this evening, to give God glory and praise. So standing up and giving a testimony, you're acknowledging something that God did for you. And it not only is encouraging to everyone else and reminds you, but it gives him the glory publicly. You may have thanked him privately for things, but this gives God public glory. We'll take your prayer requests and thanksgiving at this time. If we can have the mics, please. Is this okay?
I just thank the Lord for all he has done for our family. I thank the Lord for what he's done for Larry. He's had some nights better sleep, but last night he didn't sleep, and that just I'm just trusting this is not going to be a cycle. But I want to thank the Lord for helping him, though he has really helped him, and I just trust and pray that you all help us pray that he will continue to get some sleep. And Ed hasn't gone to get his CAT scan yet. He's waiting on them to tell him when he has to. But I'm concerned for him, and Ellie still needs prayer, and Georgie and Frank and Frankie.
Sister Sarah, it's good to see you here this evening.
I had requested prayer for my Aunt Rose and the situation there last week, and I was just there visiting again, and my aunt, one of the aunts that is trying to take care of her, has said that they have decided that it's just too much for them, and they are trying to make arrangements to have her put into Williamsport, some nursing home there. And I know that Aunt Rose does not want that, and she asked me to be praying about it, so I would just ask you to pray that she would just come around and just come to understand that that's what's best for her right now.
I would like to thank the Lord for all he's done for me the past year. It's been a very just difficult emotionally and physically year, but I thank the Lord for all he's done for me. Also, Danielle texted me today and said that her grandfather, she had requested prayer Sunday that he was to have a heart pacemaker put in. Well, he's got an infection now, and they can't do it, but his heart stopped. But she wants prayer that he can get over this infection so they can get the pacemaker in.
Brother Alan, I want to thank the Lord that they were able to get Joycey moved to Williamsport nursing home. They stopped by the house probably about 1:15, and they had bought some food at Chick-fil-A, and so they put a tray in there for her so she could eat her food, and so I got to visit with her for the time that they were doing their eating, and she's gone downhill more since she had gone up to that nursing home up in Pennsylvania. Not that it wasn't anything to do with the nursing home, it's just she either doesn't hear or she doesn't understand things that Amanda tells her or one of us says. She'll just do the opposite of what you're trying to get her to do. I don't want to say it this way, baby, but it makes you think of a child that has a mind of its own. So instead of dipping her chicken in the sauce for the chicken, she was doing it in the ketchup, and the French fries, she was doing vice versa. But anyhow, she looked good, and we're just thankful that this got worked out for them now. And like prayer for Rachel and Mike and the family are going to take me up Saturday to be at Janie Fisher's funeral memorial service. And also like prayer for Mike is out in Montana right now getting EV, and they start back tomorrow morning or sometime. So please remember them in prayer also.
I talked to Sister Anzie today, and she has several physical needs that she's asking prayer for. And there's 3 of our family members in the Martin family that are facing cancer right now, and I appreciate prayer for them.
Mary Gross called right before service and just asked that the church family remember her as well as her family in prayer.
Barry?
Brother Allen, I'm not going to bore everybody with my past and my past experiences and everything, but Rebecca and I have faced a situation, a particularly peculiar situation, I would say, with the last few years, the last 5 or so years. And it was very stressful. It was very hard for us to deal with. However, last night we happened to attend a social event, and God just took the feelings all the bad feelings that I had felt over the years, and He just took them away and just transformed my attitude about everything, and I was able to approach a situation in a whole new light and talk with the person involved, and it just changed my whole attitude about everything, and it just shows you the power of God and what the good Lord can do. So I'm very grateful for that experience.
Thank the Lord. Is there any on the internet? Uncle Steve, would you lead us in prayer this evening? As I said, if you're able to come up front, it would be nice to be able to see everyone. I know some people, it might be harder for you to do that. And so if the boys would keep the mics, please. And if you're not able, you can just raise your hand. They'll be watching for your hand. But if you could come forward, it would be appreciated. The other thing that I thought about as I thought about testimonies this evening and some of the difficulty in sharing them is the devil will try to get you with fear of being up in front of people. And if maybe you're all right with being up in front of people, he can't really get you with fear. The other thing is he'll try to get you with pride. He'll try to make you think you don't want to get up there and give your testimony. A true Christian would have a humble spirit, and they're not going to get up there and put themselves out. But giving your testimony isn't putting yourself out. You're giving praise to God. So if any of those things are, if the devil's bringing any of those things to your mind to try to keep you from giving a testimony this evening, don't let him stop you, please. We'd love to hear from everyone's hearts. Brother David and Sister Shanda are going to sing Through It All. I really like this song, and I've decided to pick it for a song this evening to start because it gives praise to God. Through it all, I've learned to trust in God. And whenever they finish this song, we'll go ahead and take testimonies, please.
I've had many tears and sorrows. I've had questions for tomorrow. There have been times I didn't know right from wrong. But in every situation, God gave blessed consolation that my trials only come to make me strong. Through it all, oh, I've learned to trust in Jesus. I've learned to trust in God. Through it all, oh, I've learned to depend upon His word.
I've been to lots of places, and I've seen a lot of faces. There've been times I felt so all alone. But in my lonely hours, yes, those precious lonely hours, Jesus let me know I was His own. Through it all, oh, I've learned to trust in Jesus. I've learned to trust in God. Through it all, oh, I've learned to depend upon His word. So I thank God for the mountains, and I thank Him for the valleys. I thank Him for the storms He's brought me through. For if I never had a problem, I wouldn't know that He could solve them. I wouldn't know what faith in God can do. Through it all, oh, I've learned to trust in Jesus. I've learned to trust in God. Through it all, oh, I've learned to depend upon His word. Yes, I've learned to depend upon His word. guess I could have just stayed up here. I didn't, I guess, think I was going to be giving this testimony this evening, but I think it's good sometimes, some things that we aren't so proud of necessarily, but things that God have done for us and done in our life, we should share with others to encourage others, like Brother Allen was saying. And I know at times we say that, you know, before God is wanting to mold us and make us better, he prepares us or allows something to come along that, or the devil just simply tries to tear us down, to make us not ready to be molded as God would want to mold us. And if he's getting ready to let us be put through the fire, the devil wants to try to bring things in our way that will obstruct God from working with us. And I'm sure we all felt that the Lord was going to be real to us, and we've expected great things this convention that we've had, and I think that we all got the answer to that request. The Lord really blessed us this past convention. But, you know, the devil was working tediously to try to tear us down beforehand, I believe. And right before the convention, you know, we were all ready for the services, and we had brought our camper. Lena and I had the camper here. We were going to camp out all week, and I was here Monday night, ready for the service tomorrow, and we were kind of hungry. It was about 9 o'clock, 9:30 at night, doing everything, and we didn't really eat yet, so I said, well, I'm going to grab a bite to eat. And I went down the road, and something happened in my mind. Something didn't click. I was thinking about everything going on, and I ran right through a red light and collided with another car pretty hard, pretty fast. And it really scared me. And a lot of things were going through my mind. It was hard to concentrate. It was hard to sleep that night. I just kept reliving the whole scenario. I'd never been through something like that before. And I was reminded that the devil, it was like God was reminding me that the devil's going to try to use anything he can to take our minds off of God and off of what's at hand. And I thank God for how he was able to come down and give me the peace that I needed in my heart, the peace to get past the fact that we are all human, that we make mistakes, but that God is real and he's there protecting us. It could have been so much worse. You know, both vehicles drove away and neither one of us were hurt, and I thank the Lord so much for that. Things could have been so much more worse than they were, but God is protecting us always. And it gave me a different outlook on certain things. It made me more aware, and I pray that, you know, God allows that to help me to grow and help me to, you know, look at situations a little differently. Sometimes we don't, it gives me more of a burden to live right, because even if we think that we know what we're doing, we're only human, and we can, something as simple as a red light, we just don't think about it, and we go right through it. That's just human error, and we're all human, and it just pays to always be right with God, to always be walking that highway of holiness, that if whenever God calls us, that we'll always be ready. I thank the Lord for his protection to me, and I thank the Lord for how he helped me to be able to put that away and to be able to get what I could out of the convention.
I thank the Lord for the opportunity once again to be able to thank him. I've been thanking him over and over again for his wonderful grace to us through the passing of our mother. The Monday before camp meeting, I received a call that she had stopped eating the Saturday before. And so I called Cheryl, and I told her that they give her 5 to 7 days. And if she could make it up, it would really be a help. So Cheryl was able to arrive Tuesday, and I spent all day from Tuesday to the following Tuesday with Mom and Cheryl with me. And I just, first of all, want to thank God so much for his allowing Cheryl to come to be with me. It was such a help to me, and such a source of strength to be able to have someone go through that with me besides the Lord. And so we sat every day, all day, basically, with Mom. We tried to get her to eat, and I did manage one day to get her to eat 3 teaspoons of applesauce, but I went home one day to fix her scrambled eggs and a piece of toast and brought it back and to the nursing home, and she just couldn't eat it or wouldn't eat it. But when I heard from the nursing home that they had expected her to only last 5 to 7 days, I asked the director of Ravenwood if they would be able to have a room alone available where they could put Mom, that we could say our goodbyes. And she was so gracious. They immediately moved her into a room by herself. And I just can't extend my gratefulness to God for the loving kindness that Ravenwood did extend to us during those 8 days that we stayed all day long with Mom. She would sip some water, but toward the end there, she couldn't even sip. And we sang to her, and we prayed with her. We prayed that God would give her ease, that he would be able to make the transition to heaven peaceful for her, and that he would be able to let her go, that she would just go peacefully. We sang to her. Mom, she sang in the choir for 50 years, and she would raise her hand. Toward the end there, she couldn't hardly raise her hand, and we'd hold her arm up so she could praise God while we sang. It was such a precious, blessed time to be able to be with Mom. I really, really hated not being in camp meeting. But I know that God was with us where we were. And I appreciate the precious time, the 8 days that we had sitting with Mom. Our worst fears was, would we wake up the next morning and come to Ravenwood and she had gone during the night? We didn't want her to die alone. But God was so gracious and so merciful, and he allowed us to be there Tuesday, 1 o'clock, when she passed. And it was such a blessing. It was peaceful. She gave about 3-4 breaths, and that was it. And I just thank God so much for answering our prayer that we were there with her. And I thank God for all the support of my church family, those that sent cards, those that showed their love, and we really appreciated that. And I just want to thank God for his help through it all.
Very thankful to be here tonight, and thank you for all your prayers. And I just feel like God answered prayer. I had very little pain, and I think I took 4 doses of Tylenol. They ordered some hardcore stuff, and I refused to get it. And I just feel like I'm back on my feet pretty quickly. And the only thing is this hoarseness that won't go away. And I appreciate your prayers. Because I saw the doctor today, and he wants me to see a ear, nose, and throat doctor, but I don't want to. So if everyone would help me pray that it would go away. And also, I'm very thankful for God's protection to Nath. He was driving home from the airport Sunday, and 2 cars head on right in front of him. Could have been him 20 seconds earlier or something. It could have been him, and I'm just very thankful for the Lord's protection to him.
Well, I'll just get up here despite my fear. Because what can I render to the Lord for his great benefits to me? If I were to number them, they would exceed my counting ability. Alan spoke with me about what was going to be testimony for tonight, and he had mentioned possibly sharing our experience of salvation for those of us older ones. I said, "Are you calling me old?" But I know what he meant. When you grow up in a church congregation, it makes it a little different because I don't want to say you grow into it, but you grow up with it surrounding you. And so when we sing "Somebody Touched Me," I sometimes struggle with the fact I know that I got saved, but I was really young. I know when I got baptized, I was only 5. But then I think about it. As the years went on, even though I grew up in the church, there were certain things that I knew did not please God. And it pricked my conscience because I knew, especially as I went through high school, and all the peer pressure, and it wasn't even so much that, it was, well, I'll just be honest what happened. It's very embarrassing, but I wanted to get good grades because from 6th grade to graduating, I never got anything lower than a B. And that's, some people will say, well, I didn't even get Bs. Well, good for you. But I struggled just to get that. And I was in a very difficult class in grade 11. I'll never forget it. It was my English class. We had to write discussion questions. And the teacher put us apart so we wouldn't cheat. And I know you don't cheat, that's stealing someone else's answer. But I just happened to be near this girl named Lynn, and she was probably top of the class. She was very, very smart. And I thought, I am going to make an F on this test if I don't get this one question. So, all right, that should have been my cue right there to just say, whatever happens, I'll write what I write. But I thought, and I looked over and oh, yes. But it's not really cheating because I'm going to make my own sentences and I'm going to develop my own idea. You see how the devil was working. And I did. I made a good score, but it wasn't really mine, not all the way. And the Lord really convicted me not only for that, but trouble with my attitudes and things like that. And at the old building one evening, I had just had enough. I was struggling. I knew that other people didn't know that I was not right, after all. I always came to church. I was a good young person. I didn't go out and do sin. But I knew what I had done. And it was so much on my heart. I was too embarrassed to go up to the altar and pray in front of people, so I got Sister Lucille, bless her heart. She was always a help to me, and I told her what had happened. I was so embarrassed, and I said, what to do? She said, well, I will pray with you. And she asked the Lord to help me. I prayed that God would forgive me. I didn't even have to tell the Lord all the failures. He knew. But when I prayed that prayer, and she prayed the prayer afterwards, I got up, and I felt like I could run down the basement stairs, and I looked around, and I said, oh, how bright everything is, because my load of sin was gone. Now, you may have struggled with something else, but mine was some things, I guess they would call them secret sins. I don't know if that's the right description of it. But I also, after that time, struggled with very, very, how do I want to say it, conscientious. I was very, very conscientious. And sometimes I would think that I had told a lie or that I had done something incorrectly. The devil doesn't care which way he gets you, as long as he gets you. But I prayed to the Lord. I spent many times in that little prayer room down there on Lincoln or whichever it is, Hammond. And the Lord met me there every single time. I told him, I said, Lord, here I am again, and I don't know what to do with this. I'm struggling, and he was always there for me. I'm in a different season of my life now. Don't struggle in the same way, but the devil is still real. We can be members of the Church of God for years, but the devil doesn't care. His intention is to get us, and so we cannot be effective for him. It is my prayer that I will always be true to him. I wanted to give just one more testimony, and that is of how God helped me in the birth of my first child. I tried to have Tara at home and developed complications and ended up going to the emergency room, and I had her there, but I remember when I was going through the worst of it, and I just thought I was going to die. I was really in pretty bad shape. Some of you who remember back then know what happened. But I found out later something very, very special that I feel like got me through that time. My dad knew that there were problems, so he said, I will not go to bed until the baby is here. And he stayed on the floor all that night, rested, prayed, rested on the floor some more. And 2:30 in the morning, the baby was here. What a blessing. Never could thank him. Sometimes I just want to say, Dad, thank you for the inspiration that you were for me. Thank you for helping me through that time. I remember thinking, I can't do this. And God poured in the strength, and I appreciate it. So many other things I could say, but I just thank the Lord for the privilege of being a Christian. I ask that you pray for me. We all need each other. We want to stay true. The devil doesn't care how young or how old you are. He wants to get you, and we're going to pray one for another that we'll stay true.
Good evening. Say sometimes I feel like I shouldn't stand up and give a testimony because sometimes I feel as though I don't have any big, massive victory that I've won that is worthy of standing up and giving a testimony, but I jotted down a couple small victories that I've had lately. Nothing huge, nothing outstanding, but small victories. The first one I wrote down was probably the biggest of the few that I wrote down, but shortly after camp meeting, it was in the Wednesday night service that we gave testimonies for how we appreciated the camp meeting service. I didn't say anything then, and I very purposefully didn't say anything because I was really struggling about some frustration and some fear that I'd had since the camp meeting started. And then Brother Ryan said that, he's around here somewhere, but Ryan said shortly before the end of the service that he was also struggling, and we needed to make sure that we didn't let the devil take what we had. And that really struck a chord with me. And the next day, I knew that I just needed to spend some time in prayer. You know how sometimes you know what you need to do to get over what you're going through, but sometimes you just really, something just seems to hold you back. Well, I really knew that I just needed to take the time and pray through it. So the next day I took a really long lunch break, and I went to Desiree's house, and I prayed through it. And I got the victory like I knew I would, but I needed to do it. So I thank the Lord for that victory. And since then, like I said, I just feel like since that point, I'm just a compilation of a bunch of different small victories. The Lord lately has, I believe, helped me have a patient mind frame. That's something that I think I've struggled with in the past. I definitely have had problems with. I think I can exhibit patience sometimes without having a very patient attitude while doing so. But I thank the Lord for that small victory. Something that Brother Allen mentioned in Sunday school this couple weeks ago was the need that we have sometimes to just sit down and take time to reflect over our day. And I knew that was a good thing to do, but sometimes we just forget. And that was a small victory, me being able to sit down and take time to reflect over my day and to look at areas that I think I could have done better. I wouldn't say that was necessarily a victory as much as it was just a realization. I think some victories that we have are just realizations of things that we might need to just do better in. A small victory or realization that the Lord helped me in lately was to take Sunday school much more seriously. That's been an encouragement to me to take Sunday school very seriously. Something else the Lord has helped me in very much lately has been devotions. And specifically, He's helped me realize that I need to have a structured focus in my devotions. I feel like I've lacked that a lot lately, but I was thinking just the other day, I want to have focus on God, and not just a blind focus. I want to be able to have a structured focus. I want to have a point or a focal point to my focus on God. And He's helped me draw close to Him and focus on Him more and find different areas and ways to study. And I'm just thankful for these little victories because they're encouraging to me. And I thank the Lord that He's with me in the big things, but also in the small day-to-day things that I think those small day-to-day things are probably more important than the big things because we all live day-to-day, not necessarily between one big thing, but we live from one day to the next. So I'm thankful for the small victories.
Sometimes I don't like to always share my testimonies because I think then I don't ever want to give the devil recognition or any glory, and I just think that if I go through something and I bear it with a smile and no one ever knows, then that is what has given me the real victory. And I have realized that that's not always the best thing to do because then maybe, not that anyone doesn't think I'm human, but then people might not think that you're human too. So I didn't share this with my children until recent either because I knew that Ryan had been struggling and different things, and I thought, well, I have to be strong and I can't share that I was struggling too. But I thought, I have to be able to share because that's what gives you the strength and the victory that you can overcome. And so tonight what I'm saying isn't to in any way give the devil victory or glory, but to give the Lord the victory and glory. I also didn't say anything on the Wednesday night that we were giving testimonies for camp meeting because I have to personally say that I had struggled most of camp meeting, and I guess just with the situation of my grandfather and just some different situations, I just felt like maybe I was floating a little bit through camp meeting. And we were trying to hurry and get ready everything for camp meeting on Monday, and just for some reason I had this weird thing, which I think maybe a lot of women do, but I like to have everything completely cleaned up and just ready so that when we come home there's nothing that needs to be done besides what we're bringing home. So we were racing around on Monday trying to get things done, food cooked, and our really nice vacuum started having trouble and wasn't sucking anything up, and I was like, that's okay, we'll get the one downstairs. So we went down and got the one downstairs, and that started heating up and having trouble, and I thought, we'll get the broom. And so it's like, okay, this doesn't matter, I know. And so Douglas was coming home to get the motor home, and we were making food that day, and I said, hon, the dishwasher sounds like it's running, but it's not running. And he looked at it and he said, I'm sorry, it's broken. So we had all these dishes in there, and I kept thinking, these are just material things, it doesn't even matter. Just So we take everything out of the dishwasher and we're washing it up, and it's getting later in the evening, and the children are like, let's just let all the dishes sit on the counter. No, we just have to. So we got in here at 10:30 on Monday evening, and like, we're just all excited about camp meeting, and you just start, sometimes maybe just feel a little bit down, like you just don't feel like you're ready for camp meeting or something, and but you know it's the devil, and you can't go by feelings. It's not about feelings. It's just about, and I kept thinking on Monday night, if I could just get into the altar, I love to pray at the altar. I'll just get into the altar and just, it'll all be lifted, and I'll just be ready for camp meeting. Well, we're blessed with 6 children, and by the time I got everyone to bed, I just felt like I couldn't hardly think of coming into the altar, so I thought, I'll go in early tomorrow morning. Well, let's just say there was different times all through camp meeting that I thought if I could just make it into the altar and have special prayer at the altar, this would just be lifted. But I might be on my way to the altar and someone would stop, may I speak to you? Sure, Abby. And just felt like and the one night I remember thinking, you talk to me by your bedside. You talk to me. You don't have to go to the altar. I can meet you right here. And just to say, I kept thinking that it was just going to lift, that I was just going to feel this overwhelming victory. And I can't say that I really did. I felt like I enjoyed the services, and I gained much from the services, but I just never had that feeling of that was just so, and I just feel so full and so blessed, and I know I'm so full and I'm so blessed, but the feeling wasn't there. And I just kept telling the devil, it doesn't matter if I feel it, because I know that I have gained, and I know that I've heard things that were food to me and just inspiring to me, and I think sometimes he just gets so angry if the feeling's not there and you don't just give up because you don't feel it, but you just have to hold, like I just kept trying to hold on that it doesn't matter if I feel it. I know that I'm endeavoring to serve you, and I'm endeavoring to please you, and that no matter if I don't feel it for a while, I'm going to still serve you and still love you and serve. And the devil would come to me, because I know it's the devil. Well, this is the first camp meeting you've ever really felt like this the whole time. Maybe something's wrong, or why? Like, he kept these accusations of why maybe I was, or you're such a hypocrite because you're struggling, but you're still smiling. Well, you're fake. I don't know how to explain it, but I just felt like maybe I'm not trying to give the devil any glory, because he is just a liar. And we had a beautiful camp meeting. I gained things since then. I've gone back and watched different services, things that I remember that I just really had gained from, and I rejoice in those services and rejoice in the Lord meeting with us and blessing. But just here to tell you that the devil tries to discourage us all, and we can't go by feelings. It's because those feelings aren't always there, but again, those feelings will come again where you just know that you're his child and he loves you and you feel it again, but it's just not always by feeling. And so I'm so thankful that I'm saved, that I love him, that he's done so much for me. I endeavor to serve him all the days of my life. I just love him so much, and I just want to encourage everyone, if you've ever felt that way, to know that Sister Julie has felt that also.
Well, thank you, Julie, for sharing that, because I think sometimes we're one big family here, and I think that's a blessing, but sometimes we like to hold those kinds of things because they're precious to us. And so we think, if we share that, you better appreciate that, because I shared that with you. But I appreciate you sharing that. And one day I was Julie and I were talking, and I was telling her some of what I was experiencing, which was somewhat similar, and she assured me that I was not alone. So it's a blessing, and it's really an encouragement because you realize that the Lord is working with us, because if no one was struggling, then it may be an indication otherwise. But when the Lord is working and souls are being blessed and people are being helped, I believe the devil fights that, and that's just an indication of that happening. I thought of different things I could say, but this evening I just wanted to give the Lord thanks for protection for the children throughout the years. I thought of different times that he watched over and protected. There's many times that I think I don't even know about, but there's times that I do, and I thank the Lord. I used to watch children in daycare, and I used to take the one little boy out to the bus stop, and one morning we used to pack all the children up in the van and drive it out to the end and wait on the bus, and we were sitting there, so no one was buckled up or anything, or was just playing in the vehicle, and I happened to look back, and Andrew had rolled the window down and stuck his head out and then rolled it back up, and he couldn't yell because he had, but I feel like I look back just in time, and I think back later, and I think, thank the Lord, because you're just sitting there in your house, almost in your house, and think you're safe. And then I was yard selling right along 416, and every time I go through this area, I think of this and thank the Lord. But this is a very unsafe thing to do, and I think back of all the things that I've done that weren't wise. But I just had one child, and he was asleep in his car seat, and I just pulled alongside the road and jumped out and went to the yard sale real quick. And I was standing there looking at some things, and I realized he was standing beside me, and he had gotten out on 416 side, gotten out of his car seat and gotten out of the vehicle and come to me. And I just barely pulled off the road. So he could have easily have gotten out of the car and been hit. And then there's times that the little daycare children, one time the gate was left open, and a teeny little one had climbed all the way up the steps. And you just take those times and you hold the children and you just thank the Lord. Like parents have said before, you can't be everywhere at once. You can do your best to try to keep them reasonably clean and healthy and happy and fed, and then there's times that things happen, and I just look back over the years and I thank the Lord for watching over and protecting.
I think I just heard my wife say that we keep our children reasonably clean. There's a lot of things that, I guess, several things that came to my mind as I was trying to think of something to bring. A couple of things kind of Charlie mentioned. When you're a parent, you thank the Lord for watching over your children, because things happen. And I was thinking of Alan particularly. In one year, in one fall, he had Lyme disease, and right after that, he had HSP, which I don't remember how to say that, what that stands for anymore, but basically it's internal bleeding. There were spots and stuff showing up on his skin because he was bleeding from inside, and the Lord took care of that, and that worked itself out over time. And then we went on a family trip one time. I hadn't been to Deep Creek for decades, and when I was younger, when I was their age, we used to go fishing there sometimes. So I thought, I'm going to take the family to Deep Creek. And we weren't out on the water very long. I took the whole family out on a boat, my dad's boat, and we weren't out on the water very long, and Alan got a hook right through the eyelid. I turned around just in time to see. It was my fault. I was letting the children use long, bobber with a hook way down here. It's a long leader that's kind of like a whip. I turned around just in time to see Kyle going like this, and Alan on the other side of the boat bending over doing something. And it's one of those times where you want to freeze time, and I couldn't get there quick enough, but the hook went
right completely through his eyelid. Fortunately, he didn't yank it. I was able to get there in time to stop that, cut the line. Charlie took him to the hospital. Not a single scratch on his eyeball. Eye wasn't damaged at all. They cut it and pulled it out, or however they did it, but it was through the barb. It was the whole way through. And just things like that are so ever so close. The Lord watches out for you, and I just appreciate that. I appreciate the Lord working, just working my life in general. When I was 13, I remember being on my bed, shortly after I was saved. I remember being on my bed, and I don't remember my exact words, but I remember telling the Lord that I wanted to, follow him, serve him, and be different than the way I was brought up. Not that my mom didn't bring me to church and things like that, but I wanted to go a different way than the environment that I had been around. And the Lord, I believe, answered that in a very special way. Gave me a wonderful wife and precious family. That's really all I was ever really wanting. So I have what I always wanted. I thank the Lord for that. The Lord was faithful in that, and there was some resistance, of course, at home and things when I was saved. But I thank the Lord for honoring that and helping me to, because a lot of times they say there's sayings like the chip off the old block, or the acorn doesn't fall far from the tree, and things like that. And I didn't want that to be my case. I wanted to be different. And I just thank the Lord for the church, the young people's group, for Brother Greg, for the ministers, different ones like that, that provided examples and guidance and leadership. And I think I've said recently how I spent a lot of time using West Virginia Trio tapes and even Light Quartet and the Way of Truth Singer cassette tapes we used to have back then to get me through those teen years. Thank the Lord for that. But something else that came to mind more recently, it's been on my mind a number of times recently, and I've thought about just if I should share it, how I should share it, and I'm not going to be able to do it justice tonight because I'm not going to take the time to go into all the details. So I hesitated on even bringing it up if I can't do it justice, but how the Lord has worked personally in my life in the last 5 years, I'd say 5-6 years, since about 2015, so about 6 years. When we go through things and when events and different things happen, we don't, as I've said before, we don't really see the future. We don't really see the Lord leading in situations sometimes. But after, sometimes we can look back and see how God's hand was in different situations. And I believe that I never, as you know, Charlie and I are both in real estate now as realtors working together, and really enjoying it, really enjoying working with one another. But that was never our plan, our goal initially. When I took a course in real estate, it was just to learn more about the industry. We have a rental, and I wanted to learn more about the industry in general. And at that time, things were shaky where I was working, and wasn't sure what the future was, and I was kind of trying to look for other options, maybe something else to do in addition to what I was already doing. And anyway, one thing led to another, and I'm going to try to compress this a bit so I can get through it, but the whole thing. But so one thing led to another. I went, studied, got my license, and then we were thinking, well, maybe that was about shortly after I think Brother Matt got his license, somewhere around that time frame. And I was thinking, well, maybe we could do this in addition, like I said, to our jobs, and supplement that. We would like to eventually get out of daycare. As Charlie mentioned, she was doing daycare in our home. for a number of years, and then we realized, well, Charlie wouldn't really be able to help me much if she didn't have her license, because legally you can't, there's a lot of things you can't do without a license. So okay, well, why don't you go get her license? So she went and got her license, and one thing led to another, and we realized, well, she's at home during the day. Yes, she's doing daycare, but she's at home, so she's available to make calls and do some things. So maybe she should try to do it, and we'll just flip. Instead of her supporting me, let her do it, and I'll support her, and doing it. And that's kind of how it worked out. She started going after it and putting time into it and learning, and then I would, if she had questions or think about things, and we would counsel in the evening when I got off work and different things, and it grew to the point where it was growing. Year after year, it was growing quite a bit, and then our plan was to eventually, maybe someday, get out of daycare and have her be able to do that. And we were at Bobby and Rosemary's one night, and we were just talking, and we made a comment along that line that, someday we want to just get out of daycare and do the real estate thing. And we went home that night and started thinking about it and said, you know what? Why are we still doing daycare? Why are we dragging this out? Why don't we just make that leap now? And so I think that was the end of 2019. I think she doesn't remember either. I think it was around 2019 or so at the end. Maybe it was end of 2018. But anyway, we made that leap. We decided to cut off daycare by the end of the year, and she would do real estate full-time the following year. So she did. She did full-time real estate for a full year there, and was continuing to grow. And so then our desire has kind of been to work together doing something. Charlie and I work really well together. We enjoy working together. Not every couple can say that. There's not too many couples that can say that they would enjoy working with their spouse all the time. I think that's a pretty rare thing. But we do. Our desks are right beside each other, and we work together all the time, and we're with each other all the time, and we're happy about that. Not everybody would agree with that if they had to go through that, I guess. But so anyway, then last year, so our goal was at some point to maybe work out of my job basically, and work into helping with real estate and maybe some other things along the way. But we were thinking years down the road, and then of course last year with COVID, there was a big headcount reduction. I think I've already mentioned this before. There was a headcount reduction, and I was affected. And we said, well, why not now? Why not? Let's do this now instead of me trying to go back and get a job. Charlie, pretty much at the end of last year, Charlie was to the point where she said, I can't do anymore. I need help. I'm pulling my hair out type of thing, and I'm stressed, and I'm enjoying what I'm doing, but I can't do this, by myself type of thing. So that was perfect. That it was a perfect time for me to come in and join her, and so that's what we've been doing this year, and it's been going really well. The Lord's been blessing. We've been enjoying it. I don't know, what the Lord has in the future per se for us, but for right now, the Lord worked that out. So I look back, and I could give you a lot more details on how things worked. When I was at Shippensburg, and then there was reasons I transferred here to Hagerstown, and there was different reasons, and a lot of different details I could give you to help flesh that whole testimony out a little bit more, but I won't take the time for that. But I can look back now over the last, about 2015, about the last 6 years, about how the Lord led from one thing to another to another. By the way, I'll just mention that if I would have stayed up there in Shippensburg, if I would have never transferred down here to Hagerstown, the reason I transferred down here was to get a good job closer to home so that I could be more available to support real estate. That was one of the big reasons I transferred down. But if I had not have done that, if I would have stayed up there, I would have been sold off. since I left, they have sold the product line and the engineers that went with it and some other support staff with it. They have sold that off to another company. So I would have went through a transition of a major change up there regardless if I would have stayed there. So anyway, trying to wrap this long testimony, long story into as short as I can and still have some substance. I can look at how the Lord worked over the last number of years and see different events and how they unfolded now and how they led me unknowingly to the point where I'm at today. And I believe that's the Lord's hand working, the Lord's guidance, the Lord's providence, maybe some people call it. Like I say, I don't know what the future holds, but the Lord will lead, and I don't need to know. You know, sometimes it's hard for us as people to, maybe this is a good lesson for young Christians, young people too. It's hard for us to trust when we don't see. You know, we sing that song, I will trust when I cannot see, because we want to understand, we want to see the future, we want to have a plan. I'm very much about having a plan and a backup plan and things like that. I'm like that. The Lord doesn't always show us plan A and plan B. He doesn't always show us the future. Sometimes we have to trust in Him. And so there's a lot of other things I could tell you about why I'm thankful for how the Lord worked things out. Maybe sometime I'll write it down, I'm not sure. But I just thank the Lord for His faithfulness and His guidance and how He watches over our lives and provides for us and provides us direction and strength and guidance, and we can trust in Him. God is faithful. God provides and God helps and God is faithful to us. We can trust Him. And going through this experience and seeing how things unfolded and how I'm in something now that I had no idea I would ever be doing, has increased my faith in Him, has increased my trust in Him to be able to rely on Him and trust His guidance and His direction, even when I didn't understand and didn't know what to do next, didn't know what the next step was. Just some things unfolded and the Lord worked things out. I'm so thankful for that. The other thing I wanted to mention that I forgot and I want to mention before I sit down, and it kind of touches on what Brother David mentioned and Sister Julie and my wife. I had mentioned, Brother Ryan had mentioned, different ones, that the Lord had worked right before, not the Lord, sorry, the enemy, the devil, had worked right before convention to accuse and just bring difficulties, bring tests, stumbling blocks, accusations, things that you don't deal with and face maybe any other time of the year, it seems like. Well, this is a little lesson again for the young people. The Bible says something about us not being ignorant of his devices. In other words, we need to learn how Satan works and how he moves and what he does. And I can tell you, and you'll be good to take this to heart, that Satan works that way. As someone mentioned, maybe Julie and Charlie mentioned that, when the Lord wants to work and move, Satan is there to oppose. And we've heard that before. We've heard that, coming up to convention. But, it's one thing to hear. It's another thing to experience it for yourself. And I think from the testimonies of a number of us, we have experienced it for ourselves coming into this convention. And so keep that in mind, because he'll use the same tactic next convention. Or it may not be a convention. It might be a revival or some other time. But the devil works in the same way time and time again. And so it shouldn't alarm us when fiery trials come our way and test us and try us. We need to endeavor to learn. And even though, like Sister Julie said, we know sometimes it's a devil. We know maybe what Brother Tom mentioned, what we need to do to get through it. We need to pray through it or spend time. But nonetheless, the enemy is still there. And I just want to encourage the young people to keep pressing on and holding on and remember that. That's the testimonies that we heard this evening of how the enemy worked before convention. We can learn from that and use that as experience so that next year, when convention rolls around, don't be surprised if the enemy also is present. That's how he works.
you'll have to bear with me. I don't have my thoughts together very well. But I've been wanting to give the Lord some praise because I don't know how many of you know this, but I started college full-time in the spring semester. This is my second semester that I've been doing it, and it's been a very different experience. It can be good and bad, but I wanted to give God thanks because of what he's taught me through it, and I've learned a lot. But some of the things that I wanted to mention is that through all of college, like last semester, he's really humbled me. I didn't realize I needed humbling before, but definitely has kind of opened my eyes a little bit to how I should view things or how I should look at things differently. There's also been times where I've just been like extra, I get really picky about things. I like, especially for exams or papers, I like things to be perfect. So I'll read over it 3 times before I submit it and won't even be happy then. But like he's taught me to be just okay with not being quite there, but the pathway there. Like if I'm learning, then that's what matters. I don't have to be 100% all the time. And he's just taught me that even if you're not how do I say this? You're not 100%, you can still be good enough for, like, and that's translated to like, even if you don't feel like maybe you're the best person to do a job, you know, like, I don't know, singing or speaking or whatever in church, you can do it as long as you give it to him and you let him control you. Another thing is back in spring semester, I had just started full-time in January, and it was my first, like, it was a very stressful couple of weeks because I was kind of feeling it out and making things work out, you know, turning stuff in. And then my mom got her seizure, and like a ton of family issues sprang up early February. And that was just like, I was going through like so much stress before then, and then she had her seizure, and I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna get through this. But there was, I don't know, like that night that she had it, just like a flooding of strength, you know, where like even though it just felt like I could do this, like it was gonna be okay. And that wasn't me, that was not me at all. And I got through it very, very, like it wasn't a good experience, of course. Like, you know, it's a bad thing to go through, but came out the other side better for it because I learned to trust more. You know, he'll give us what we need, especially like in those times whenever we feel like we are gonna break or something. So I'm very thankful for that, and like I said, I'm very particular about everything, and he's just really given me strength and help through all of college, and I just want to thank him for that, for just giving me the strength to get through, even if I felt like I was just gonna fall down on my face.
I jotted down a few things that I'm thankful for this evening. First of all, I'm thankful that you had this service, Alan. I think it's wonderful that we can share with each other things that we're thankful for. A couple things I'm thankful for. I'm thankful that I was saved at a very young age. I'm thankful for sunsets and sunrises. I'm thankful for good health. I'm thankful for a family who loves each other. I'm thankful for a healthy appetite, maybe a little bit too healthy. I'm thankful that I have a church to attend. I'm thankful that I have a rich heritage. And I could go on, but there are some things that I'm thankful that I don't have. So sometimes I think if we look around, and of course I don't think we'd ever get, tired of giving thanks to God, but there are some things that I think it does us good to be thankful that we don't have. I'm thankful that I don't have a lack of friends. I'm thankful that I did not have abusive parents. I'm thankful that I don't have a desire to smoke or gamble. I'm thankful that I'm not jobless. I'm thankful that I don't have any missing limbs. And I'm thankful I don't have a foul mouth. I'm thankful that I'm not homeless. The last thing I want to share that I'm thankful that I don't have, I was riding around Hagerstown this afternoon on some errands, and I was down at the Jonathan Street area, and there's a young girl there at the laundromat. I'm not really sure what was going on with her. She just wasn't acting like she was even a human being, and my heart went out to her. And I know there's a lot of people with addictions and a lot of things that are going on in the world today, and I'm just so thankful that I don't have those issues, and I want to be more prayerful and have a heart of compassion for the ones and be a shining light for those that do.
Thank you all for sharing those testimonies. I know not everyone had a chance, and I know sometimes, as Tom said, things seem small and we don't really think of different things that we can say. But I think it'd be encouraging to give testimonies more often. I know it's something I'd like to work on personally, and just our regular services even. Giving testimonies more often. I feel like they're a big blessing to others. I know the testimonies that were given tonight were a blessing to me. I trust they were to you as well. And like I said before, not only do they encourage us, but they give God glory. And that's another way of worshiping and praising God, is testifying what he's done for you. And as Tom said, we live day to day, mentioning the little things that we've overcome, the little things that are bothering us. That's what helps. That's what helps saints. Because we all live that same life, day in and day out, same enemy, we're all serving the same God. And it's encouraging to hear that that same God is working in other people's lives, because what he's done for others, he'll do for us as well. If you'll stand, we're going to sing "This Is Why I Love My Savior," hymn number 286. Sister Desiree, would you come lead this song, please?
Just like to make a quick announcement. A lot of you already know about this, but we're planning to travel with a group of young people out to Carmichael, California for the Labor Day meeting that they have planned for this year. And we have close to 30 already that are planning to make that trip. And one of the reasons I wanted to mention that is to just appreciate the saints' prayers. Some of the resurgence of new variant of COVID and things are having an impact in some areas in California, particularly. I think it would be good if we'd pray that the Lord would work that out, that it not impact our trip that we have planned and have made some commitment to. Just appreciate you all's support and prayers and in that effort. Thank you.
Thank you all for being here this evening. I trust the Lord will bless you the rest of this week. Brother Joe, would you dismiss us in prayer? And please remember Brother Greg and Sister Ellen as they come home, I think, the end of this week.